Welcome to the Big Tech Gut Check here on Scrolling to Death. Before I get into the headlines for the week of June 24th, 2024, I wanted to thank this week's sponsor, Bark Technologies. I am truly so grateful that these days we parents have safer device options for our kids. The Bark phone was built for families who are looking to ramp up their child's online safety. It has parental controls built in, unlike the iPhone, and allows us to manage their entire digital experience safely. More on Bark in the episode notes, but let's get into this week's updates. First things first, Snap Inc. has made a few announcements related to online safety within Snapchat. These updates are in response to a bunch of bad press that Snap has been getting lately. There's been articles and investigations proving their platform to be unsafe for kids. Before I get into the updates that Snap made to the platform, I want to make it clear that they didn't do this out of the kindness of their own hearts or to be proactive in protecting children. This is a reaction to bad press. So I'll review the 4 improvements now, and we'll be digging into this in more detail with attorney Laura Marquez Garrett to assess whether these updates will actually protect kids when they're put into practice. That episode will drop next week. First up, Snap is increasing in-app warnings. So if teens receive a chat from someone who has been blocked or reported by others, or is from a region where the teens network isn't typically located, a warning appears. Snapchat has also enhanced friending protections. So Snap says they will prevent delivery of a friend request when teens receive a request from someone they don't have mutual friends with, and that person also has a history of accessing Snapchat in locations often associated with scamming activity. Snapchat is also simplifying location sharing. They're adding more frequent reminders to ask teens if they still want to share their location in Snap Maps and making it easier for teens to customize which friends can see their location. Lastly, they're making blocking improvements. So if a teen blocks a user and that user creates a new account on the same phone, the teen cannot receive friend requests from this account. With some of the updates focused on increasing warnings and reminders, it got me wondering how often teens actually read these things in the first place. Will these updates be effective in protecting kids on Snapchat? More to come in my conversation next week. Next up, warning, a new TV app has popped up to replace Omegle. In case you didn't know, Omegle was a live video chatting app that was banned because of all the offensive and pornographic material, especially being seen by children. Now kids are accessing an app called OmeTV, OME-TV. This is also a live video streaming app rated 18 plus, marketed as an app where you can chat with strangers. The advertisement for OmeTV is a girl in a bathing suit winking at the camera. So what do we think this app is going to be used for? Moms have reached out to me. They've been finding their teens using this app. So I wanted to give you guys a warning on it. OmeTV is not appropriate for kids and teens. Moving on. Last week, I reported that the U.S. Surgeon General officially recommended that social media sites have a warning label stating very clearly the risks to kids' mental health. This turned out to be a touchy subject, with many outlets and people with an opinion arguing against this idea. Like this article by CNN saying, science of social media's effect on mental health isn't as clear-cut as a warning label might suggest. And this one, researchers say a social media warning is too broad. Here's what literally happens, you guys. So when there's anything bad said against social media for kids, the social media companies alert their trade associations and research organizations that they fund. These associations trigger news articles sharing biased research that they created, which puts social media in a good light. These tech-funded research groups love to lean on this statement, quote, "There's not enough evidence to say that social media causes changes in adolescent health at the population level." You'll hear that a lot, population level. Now, it's difficult to identify one source of causation when looking at an entire population of adolescents. There are so many factors involved. So the headline will say evidence does not point to social media as a cause for mental health issues in kids, but they're talking about population level reviews. And look, I know what I'm about to say isn't research, but talk to any parent whose kid is on social media. They'll tell you it's not good for them. In some cases, the effects are minor, depending on the kid and the situation, but in other cases, the effects are horrible and they are lifelong. And in some cases, the child has lost their life. Why are we still arguing over whether an addictive online platform that prioritizes harmful content to kids is bad for kids? I'm really sick of this merry-go-round. The executives at these tech companies and the researchers at the trade associations that they fund should be ashamed of themselves for trying to manipulate and trick an entire generation. This will come back to bite you in the ass very soon. Next up, on Monday of this week, the New York Times posted an article titled, quote, "How Mark Zuckerberg's Meta Failed Children on Safety." This piece is an overview of the lawsuits against Meta, 12 different lawsuits and counting by 25 US states and DC. The accusation is that Meta unfairly addicts teenagers and children to Instagram and Facebook while misleading the public about the risks. After these lawsuits were filed, we got access to some really damning internal documents from inside Meta. Documents showing that Meta knows that kids on Facebook and Instagram can be sexually solicited, harassed, bullied, body shamed, and encouraged to use it compulsively through the algorithm. They know that teens are being harmed, and they know that approximately 4 million children under 13 are active just on Instagram. But they don't remove underage users. They prioritize them. They target them. They increase budgets to manipulate them. This doesn't surprise me, but if it surprises you, please consider keeping your kids off of Instagram and Facebook for as long as possible. Give it to them when you think they're able to handle being contacted by adult strangers. Give it to them when you think they're old enough to handle hardcore porn. Give it to them when you think they can handle being approached by drug dealers. Give it to them when you want to end their childhood, and only then. Lastly, an update on TikTok. TikTok has sued our government after we classified TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, as a foreign adversary and expressed concerns about the company sharing our data with the Chinese Communist Party through TikTok. The law that was passed by the US government says that TikTok must be sold to an American company or we will remove it from our app stores. TikTok has most recently provided details to the court about how it engaged with the US government over several years and gave them plans on how to mitigate the security concerns. TikTok says they have walled off Americans' data separate from people from other countries in US data centers with no access by the Chinese government. But the fact is that ByteDance is a Chinese company, and Chinese companies are required to hand over data to their government whenever it is requested. This is a complicated topic, but know that this law passed so fast. Our Foreign Intelligence Agency held a closed-door meeting with legislators to express their real concern about national security, and then the law passed, like the next day. I don't know what our Foreign Intelligence Agency found out about China's control of TikTok, but it was serious enough to trigger this law to be passed immediately. On top of all of this, our U.S. Department of Justice is soon to file a lawsuit back against TikTok, alleging that TikTok violated the privacy rights of children using kids' data illegally to target them with ads and addictive algorithms. And this topic has been interesting to watch play out in my comments section. Lots of people think that because TikTok isn't owned by an American company, that TikTok is the only place that we can get true news, real information about what's going on in our country and around the world. But that is scary to me. If TikTok is influenced by the Chinese Communist Party and 170 million Americans use it as their main data source, think of what could happen. The Chinese Communist Party could make 170 million Americans believe whatever they want. No company, no entity should have that kind of influence, especially within a platform that is totally okay harming American children. That's it for this week. It is the wild, wild west out there. I hope this is helpful in keeping parents updated on the world of big tech and social media. Keep having open conversations with your kids about these topics. Keep protecting them. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll be in touch on next week's Big Tech Gut Check.